There's a debate raging on in the best ball and DFS streets. What would you rather have? 150 lineups in the best ball playoffs or one lineup? Today on Lulz, we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us. All right, Brian, how did your week 2 DFS go?
Not bad. One on FanDuel. About broke even on you. DK. How about you?
Let's see. Oh, I had a top 100 lineup in the SPY. I've just been playing one lineup on DraftKings, so that was nothing huge. It's so top heavy. It's still just like a 5x or whatever. But and just so on Underdog, still haven't hit the a bank over there. So we will keep pressing on here. FanDuel, because I heard Davis talking about it. Were they doing a bunch of like was there a big promo over there too going on?
The first week, the second week was all right. They're definitely doing more. That's the only reason I'm over there is they're definitely doing way more than DraftKings. DraftKings nowadays is like, if you enter $10,000, we'll give you 18 cents. We'll give you a ticket to the Quarter Arcade. It's like, it's not moving the needle.
But you did get Sunday Ticket, right?
No, remember? I think didn't I tell you this? And I thought I mentioned this. I did the Sunday Ticket thing. And they charged me, and so I had to like contact YouTube and cancel it. And new link, and then I did the new link, and it said I was hooked up. The season starts, and it's like, you don't have a Sunday Ticket sub, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm just gonna watch Red Zone. Who cares?
Yeah, you're just over dealing with it. Yeah. The thing that frustrates me with I do love doing the quad box, get one Red Zone, 3 games up. You can do it on your TV. You can do it on mobile on your phone. But if you're on desktop, which is when we're doing the Shipcast now on Thursday afternoon, so I'm on desktop and have it up, they don't have that feature available for desktop for some reason.
That's weird.
I was like, if it works for mobile, like why wouldn't it work for desktop there?
They didn't on the TV. They didn't have an option for the whatever national games like CBS, Fox, and Red Zone. Like you can't combo Red Zone unless I'm assuming unless you get the NFL package. So that is a little annoying. Yeah. Especially when the Bears are on.
What was the feedback like from Run the Sims users after week 2?
Good. Yeah. Seems like we've got a lot of winning screenshots on Thursday. There was a bunch, or not Thursday, Monday, the showdown on Monday. I got smoked, but everyone else seemed to do well.
That's always the funniest too. When it's funny you say that because I was listening to Levitan's solo pod too, and I think he was like, "Yeah, I got smoked, but then we're getting tagged by all of these subscribers who said they won."
What did you do? What did you change? I was just using the defaults for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're like, "Hey, tell me how you're." That's how it's been like too. Like we've been getting shout outs from the masterclass and people winning. And it's a little different on Underdog too, where there's just like so many paths to building, and you're not like, I don't know, like I feel like when you have projections, when you have sims, like you are kind of settling around a core, a cohort of players or games or whatever. Whereas like with the Underdog stuff, it's just like, it's more about how you're building teams and less about like, this guy is the skeleton key to the slate or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always so obvious too afterwards, isn't it? Detroit last year, how many times did they go off for DFS? And then it's like, and then they're underowned on DFS. Comparatively afterwards, in hindsight, the Bears look like dog shit. They're at home. It's like, yeah, of course that Jared Goff can have a double stack. It totally makes sense.
Yeah, I know. It's that was the one I had the tilting thing. So that was my DraftKings lineup. I had the Jared Goff double stack. I just didn't have it with the one wide receiver who scored 40 points.
You didn't have St. Brown. Wow, okay.
I had Jamison Williams and Sam Laporta. And it was like, just having Goff was just like good enough to get me in the top 100. And it's like, you start doing the 1v1 or even the 2v2. It's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty close to winning this tournament if I just, play as best wide receiver. But that's also the give and take of simming, right? Where it's like, I'm not IKBing. I picked out the Jared Goff lineup that I liked the most. It wasn't like I hand built it, so I can't even like beat myself up over it. It was just like, no, this lineup made sense in the context of the sim.
That's true. Yeah. You definitely give yourself like a free pass when you do it this way, more so than if you hand build something. That's for sure. That's a nice aspect, I think, of simming. Optimizing too is a little different too. Optimizing, you're more to blame, I think, because you kind of really have to adjust it to get anything usable these days. So it's basically like hand building.
Leone on his, because he's now doing like a solo pod on his feed, he was talking about how it was kind of like a quiet week as far as like not really needing to change things, from Friday. There wasn't much like injury news or like big shifts or whatever, and his lineups were like set for most of the week. And then he said he made a 2v2 at the last minute on one of his lineups, and it cost him first place. Like he pivoted off of Jonathan Taylor in the Dolphins defense to Kyron in the Rams. And it was like the one tweak he made at the last second. And then his team was doing well, and it got jumped by Jonathan Taylor teams. And he was talking through the mental aspects of fighting through that tilt of at the last minute tinkering off the nuts.
That's the worst. Oh, so was that the afternoon tinker or the morning tinker?
The morning tinker.
Oh, okay. Not as bad as the afternoon tinker, I feel. Both not good. But like when you're in, top 10 and you're like, okay, what should I do then? I think this guy's going to play this. I think I'll go with this guy instead of this guy. And then that's the wrong mistake.
Yeah. Do you guys have, and apologies if it doesn't, I'm not aware of it, but do you have any like tools for like re-simming for late swap type stuff, or is that just too hard? No.
Well, we might do it eventually, just not right now. Just too much stuff to get.
Yeah. We got Nerdy in the chat. It's always the computer's fault, even if I wrote the code there.
Yeah. Adam in Discord said, if you do well, it's the projections and him and Yuta and Davis. But if you do bad, it's the Sims and Dan and my fault.
Yeah.
And then I said, I thought we agreed to always blame Dan if anything went wrong. And now Dan is passing the buck even further, and he's blaming the computer. So you can't blame any of us. If anything goes wrong, it's the computer's fault.
I thought that's the sole reason you guys brought on Davis, to have the ultimate scapegoat, that you could just pass everything down to him. He's like your press secretary that you roll out to the podium to field all the questions, and then he just gets the brunt of it.
It's interesting. He's normally, I think, he doesn't get as much pushback as what I'm seeing from the other two guys. Like he's like, Brock Bowers is too low, right? And it's like, no, this is why it's fine. This is why it's fine. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's actually higher than, these other places. And you figure Davis would just, you just make the switch to Brock Bowers and ship it.
Yeah. Well, and last week, I don't know, maybe it'll start to change, but like quarterback, like ownership was super spread out. Like even when we did the show on Friday, there was like nobody projecting for over 10%. Like all the games, like the band of games. And it's this way again this week, where I guess there's one game over 50, that Cowboys Bears game, but everything else is like between 44 and 46 or 40 and 45. And it's just like, everything feels super flat. There seems like there's so many different directions you have to go. Like, I feel like we haven't even had those like, oh man, the fish get there playing that like uber chalk play, because there hasn't been like a dominant chalk play. I guess we're going to get it this week with Jordan Mason, but.
Okay. Well, that one's not that good. It would be nice if it was flat, but yet there's a quarterback who's getting 25% owned for some reason.
Yeah.
Or something,
It's like this slate, we have Jane Daniels, who's probably not going to play. He's banged up. And so like the elite quarterback, it's Jalen Hurts. And then it's like every other guy is the same, like 18 quarterbacks deep. And even Jalen Hurts, they're playing on like the most boring offense in football. All they do is run. None of the receivers are getting involved. But for drafts and DFS, I think it's kind of fun, because it really is choose your own adventure. And you can kind of do your I know ball takes, because you're not like running into like really well projecting spots.
Yeah. It's still DFS still alive and kicking, which is good, because it did take a tumble after sports betting for sure, but seems to be chugging along pretty nicely still.
Yep. Nerdy likes it always feels better when a slate is flat, as you describe. I also got to continue to shout out Nerdy. I love one of my favorite things in the in-game syndicate Discord. He's back to posting his battle royale sims for the slate, looking at both like positional and flex usage, and then kind of granular data on how the quarterback should be stacked. And it's like one of my favorite things to look at those and see, you know, which of these quarterbacks should you be rolling out naked? Which should you be doing skinny stacks, double stats, etc. And kind of like seeing the frequencies of those. And I've really been using it to inform my process. And yeah, can't recommend it enough. A huge value add if you guys are in the in-game syndicate Discord.
Are you trying to get closer to the numbers or fade the numbers?
So it's funny you say that, because the first 2 weeks I've been trying to play like more optimal, like get my exposures like close to his, knowing like, for example, like this is a good one. I had a Russell Wilson team last week. Like he was like 0.01% owned, but like in the nerdy sims, like Russell Wilson showed up more than, you know, once out of 150 or whatever. So I think by playing kind of optimal there, you're already getting to some spots that people aren't naturally getting to. However, I am starting to want to shift to a little more exploitative style and finding and going a little less on like the guys that are showing up a decent amount and really pushing the edges of the guys. Like, you know, like an example like this would be, Brian, like if Lamar Jackson is in, you know, showing up like 15% of the time or whatever, but he's also going to be drafted in 100% of drafts versus let's say Trevor Lawrence is going to show up 5% as the optimal quarterback or even less, but he's going to be drafted sub 30% of the time. And if you're showing a leverage angle there, do I just want to push that one? And that way, if it hits, I'm competing against far less rosters, or is it better to almost play kind of optimal exposures relative to the entire quarterback pool, which I know is just a risk tolerance exercise, but I'm kind of like trying to feel that out.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it for sure. Like the Trevor Lawrence example is pretty good. Because those quarterbacks are getting taken 100% of the time, right? Still, which seems like a mistake by the field when they're so close together in projections. Yeah, I was just looking at the projected ownership we have on the caddy.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
That could also be another one where you could look at whatever the efficient numbers are.
Yes,
and just compare it to the two-man ownership projections.
And that's what I do too. So yeah, another thing that Nerdy has is like how often they're appearing in a sim. And then I just compare that to the ownership as well. And then look at the spread there. And that's like, I'm trying to think like, how would I apply that directly to my portfolio? Like, let's say it's not 150 just for the sake of it, that it's 100 or whatever, as opposed to playing it like the optimal amount for each. Where am I pulling away to go exploitative on the guys who are under-owned relative to their chances of being in the optimal?
Like, well, let's just use a real example. Like, well, he doesn't put his numbers out till Saturday, right?
I'm always normally he's been doing Friday afternoons. I'm the one in there with my popcorn getting ready for him to post.
He probably would have done it if we would have asked him, but it's too late now. So Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, 36% projected combo ownership.
Yeah.
So I would guess that's high.
Yes. My gut is these top combo ownerships are all going to be high.
That Nico
on this for
Bijan, if it sticks by Sunday, like that's just like I can't imagine that's right. Unless am I thinking, am I missing something?
No, you're not. I mean, Bijan plays the Panthers, Nico plays the Jags. There's no correlation other than their ADP, right?
The guys are just up. Here's Nico.
Bijan's 1 and Nico is 12, which is directly paired with the 2-3 turn.
And so if you're doing that in a 2-3 turn too, it's just a dog shit play.
Yes, and Nico's been overdrafted relative to his projection a lot there too. So this is like the perfect spot, right? And why looking at these combos are really helpful, because you say, all right, Drake London, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, these guys don't project that much differently than Nico. Scroll down knowing that the combinatorial there is going to be far, far less.
I mean, I mean, for sure. And so like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the ownership projections. So the like R squared is going to be really high, but I was trying to give, this isn't like a great salesman pitch, but it's easier in battle royale because there's so many hundreds, so it'll make your R look a lot better. I would say the season long is much more accurate, but anyways, the reason I'm saying that is because there is going to be some variance here. So who knows what this looks like on Sunday with Nico and Bijan. But I would say this is pretty obvious fade on that 2-3 turn if you're sitting there with Bijan.
And Nico looks like the problem, right? Because he's third most with CMC. CMC is going 102. So it's really Nico getting anchored to a large majority
100%
of these top
anchoring. They're not thinking. They're just clicking.
Yep.
And who's a quarterback like your Trevor Lawrence example? Do we have one this week that would make sense?
So there's a lot, the top 6 quarterbacks, basically through 33 ADP are drafted a fair amount. And then you get to 34. So you'd be like Jones, like Michael Penix with Drake London, Kyler with McBride. These guys, you can go Stroud, Bo Nix. Yeah.
Penix, London, 13%.
Yep.
Who'd you have next?
Sorry.
Bo Nix.
Do Bo Nix. I don't think any of his wide receivers are getting drafted.
I don't think he's getting drafted.
No.
Yeah, his highest is 2.5% of anybody.
Do you like Daniel Jones with Tyler Warren? Because Tyler Warren's going in every draft.
Daniel, 15%.
Yeah.
So, that's a good comparison. What's a better play in a vacuum? Penix, London, or Tyler Warren and Jones if Tyler Warren is getting drafted 100% of the time. Well, is London getting drafted 100%?
London is too. Yeah.
There you go.
Probably
Penix.
Yes.
It's so close though. Honestly, 13%, 15%. It's within the margin of error.
But that's going to be the stuff I'm looking at of say like Geno. Like here's a good one. Like I think Geno with Jacoby Myers is kind of an interesting one. Brock will get drafted a lot, but like Geno and Jacoby will have. So say these guys show up more optimal than they're being drafted. Like instead of me just drafting my like 4 or 5 teams, which will probably still be more than the field, is that a spot I want to go 10 to 15 on and really push that?
Right. And I would guess like as long as you're doing some of this stuff, it's probably just good. It's probably just right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're like, I'm just going to fade the super high owned QB wide receiver combo. I'm going to fade the uncorrelated stacks that are really high. And I'm going to take some gambles around here and do, and use it as like a tiebreaker, unless you need to force the diversity. Like you're just constantly getting Drake London for some reason, just because of the randomness of it all. Then maybe you want to throw a couple in there, and it's probably just all good. It's probably just all, close and EV and just a good diverse way to play.
Yep. Yeah. But I love, as I kind of tweak my own strategy, it's just so nice to have that baseline of like knowing what is optimal, because in the BR stuff before Nerdy, was posting this stuff, it did feel like a black box. ETR has their own version. They do it a little different. They have like optimal rate in the winning lineup, which is another way to look at it. So I like comparing those as well, but it's nice to have that as a starting point. And then you can decide where is your risk tolerance, how much do you want to press it, but you're not just guessing anymore, which is nice. Yes.
I mean, it's super useful. I mean, speaking of selling things, the Geno Smith is Bowers hurting? He was, right?
He came into that game banged up. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it's 4% projected Bowers Smith. You just mentioned Geno Smith, so I took a look.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring if he's not banged up, he's getting 100% drafted, right? Bowers.
For sure.
I don't know. It's just a nice way too to get diverse on a guaranteed 100% owned player.
Yep.
With the quarterback. Yeah.
Well, and that was last week, right? Amon-Ra drafted in 100% of contests. He had an ADP of like 18 or whatever, which obviously was too low. But Jared Goff was barely drafted. And it's like you're already making the bet on Amon-Ra. In those scenarios where Amon-Ra is optimal, like Jared Goff is probably the optimal quarterback at least, I don't know, 25, 30% of the time if Amon-Ra scoring 30, but he's probably getting stacked with him at a far less clip than that, just because people are like, Jared Goff, bad game. I don't want to scroll that far.
For sure. That's a perfect example. Golf. What was he owned? What do we have? Actually, I have it.
I can look too, because the underdog now, did you know this? They display the ownership results.
Oh, okay, cool. And then here we'll compare it to what our guess was.
Yeah, this is what's fun too with it. So yeah, so the winner took down 15.2% Jared Goff ownership.
15.2%.
Yeah.
Why isn't this?
I can look in my spreadsheet from last week too that I haven't updated. That would have it in it.
Yeah, it's not filtering for some reason.
I'll get you, because I have it in my thing here.
Maybe that filter doesn't work on prior weeks yet or something like that.
So Jared Goff was projected. So the ownership estimate by ADP was 15%. The ownership projection on in-game was 14.29%. And he was appearing in the optimal rate. Then the draft percentage, this is from Nerdy. He was showing up 10% of the time. So there was a pretty big difference there.
So Dan would have told you to fade him. 15% ownership, only 10% optimal. You gotta get rid of this nerdy tenor stuff, man. He's just
I guess we are getting rid of him. But yeah, so that was an interesting spot for sure. I'm looking at my sheet if there are any other interesting names last week, but like Joe Burrow, 100% drafted, Josh Allen, 100%, Lamar, 100%. And then like basically everyone else is like pretty low. Like all of the guys that are outside the top 6, like, Tua, Matthew Stafford, Rodgers, Bryce Young, Mac Jones, like all these guys are sub 5% across the board. Russell Wilson, 1%.
And then what was the Goff Brown stacks? Do you have that?
I didn't pull that into I only pulled the single ownership. I didn't pull the double ownership into my sheet.
Well, let's see. Maybe I can find it.
Schmo says, good example. I feel like as Stafford, everyone's going to love Puka and Devontae every week going forward, but the people have a roadblock in their head to stack with Stafford. Yeah, and I mean, Stafford's a little different just because like his ability to hit those ceiling games is definitely different than like what we've seen even from Goff. But I do think it's a good point. If you're playing those guys at a high clip, like you are going to want them stacked sometimes with Stafford, and the field just is probably doing that at a lower rate.
We had it projected for 7.2%.
Okay.
For the two of them.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if one's 100%, the other one's 15, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The other kind of like big talking point coming out of this week, and another thing that Nerdy's data looks at is the number of 2 running back lineups versus 3 wide receiver lineups, and that flex usage. People obviously get these 3 massive scores from Jamar Chase, almost 30 points, Neighbors 33.2, Amon-Ra 34.7. So a lot of people being like, oh no, is 2 running backs not optimal? And yet you even see though the winning team was still a 2 running back lineup. It's just a tougher needle to thread to hit those 3 wide receivers because it's easier to project volume and points at the running back position than it is wide receiver. Like that's just a fact.
That was what I was actually interested in your strategy, was that comparison more so than the stacking comparison. Is like, so let's say the average, what is the average 2 RB week? It's usually pretty low, right?
Sorry, what do you mean?
The average time, the average efficiency number for having 2 RBs.
2 running backs is really high. It was like 88% last week. And then 3 wide receivers is very low relative.
Then I have it backwards. So when you see it like vice versa or something like that, are you trying to get to that number? Like purposely?
That's another one where I'm kind of just trying to match my frequency with the nerdy stuff. So I'm generally about like 1 in 10 of my lineups will be 3 wide receivers. In the way I'm drafting, sometimes it'll happen naturally where I'm like, oh, I'm building these stacks right now, and I accidentally already took 2 wide receivers. So like, I'm going to get the stack. So I'm going to do the 3rd wide receiver, whatever. But I am building mostly 2 running back lineups because of that data.
Okay. So if it was the opposite, you'd do something else.
Yes.
Is what? Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to me. That I would try to follow whatever the efficiency numbers are for the week. Because last year, if I remember correctly, there was weeks where it was dramatically different.
Yeah, I mean, 2 running backs were really dominant last year across the board. I do think the thing about applying it too rigidly is there's going to be certain lineups you build in certain slates where I think it is more attractive to go 3 wide receivers. But I'm pretty sure, like, over the big sample size with Nerdy's data, like the 2 running backs the past year and into this season have been the dominant optimal rate.
Well, regardless of dominance, has it been like the same number, the efficiency number, pretty much?
Yeah, like it's been in between like 80 to 90 almost every time I've looked.
Huh. I remember last year being pretty different each week. Maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, Nerdy can try to remind me, but yeah, I just remember last year it was just like the running backs were just shoving it down our throats all year, and it last year felt like a departure from what we had seen in years previous, but it kind of made sense with league-wide trends of passing and scoring going down and teams going more run heavy. Like it did.
Using the stacking numbers. The 0, stacking. 1, 2. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Those can be dramatically different week in, week out.
For sure. Yeah. And that's very dependent on the quarterbacks on the slate, how concentrated their pass catchers are, how good their pass catchers are, etc. Brian, let's get to the main topic of conversation here. This discourse has spread from Best Ball Twitter to DFS Twitter. It comes from the BBM2 champ, Chess Liam. I'll try to do a little backstory for the people who aren't criminally online and know where all this is coming from. But this was his tweet, and then I'll give some backstory on it. People who advance 25 out of 150 BBM teams are more likely, this is Liam's posit or whatever he's positing, are more likely to have a team in the Best Ball Mania finals than those who advance 100 out of 150. The reason is the 25 out of 150 will have more diverse teams in general. The 100 out of 150 drafter could put 10 teams in the finals if their narrow pool runs pure, but they're also drawing very live to get blanked week 15. Happened just last year. I was sub 25 and got 2 teams in the finals. Dude who had 80 teams got exactly 0 teams through to week 16. You don't want the exact same team in the playoffs. A couple players, sure, but you can only win the contest once. Liam, you got to figure out how you're breaking up these tweets. You cannot stop these tweets mid-sentence and start another one. I think this tweet was initially in reference to underdog legend Gritty, who recently posted his advance rates. He famously is like a heavy concentration player with his exposures. He's currently advancing 62 of 150 teams here. And so obviously, bragging about some of, his exposures and all of that there. But as I pull this up to look at some of Gritty's exposures, here you go. So 76% Ramondre Stevenson, 71% AD Mitchell, 64% Sam Laporta. These are massive, massive numbers. Like with the field on players is 8.3%, double the field, 16%. When you're taking a guy at 3 out of every 4 drafts, that is like a gargantuan stand. So I believe this Liam tweet was spurred by that. But Brian, do you have any comments on what you'd rather have 25 or 100 teams heading into the best ball playoffs?
I think he's might be fishing for a little engagement /
you think
trying to make a point here kind of too.
Yes.
Just about diversity, which I kind of agree with, but yeah, I think if you're gun to my head, I'm taking the 100 lineups every time.
Cause it is like assuming, like, again, because I think this was in reference to Gritty, who a lot of people think gets way out ahead of his skis with his exposures, etc. Like it's working under the assumptions that you have exposure to a lot of bad players or whatever. And like
it's almost a subtweet, yeah.
But isn't there too? Because I am a believer in the diversity thing. We've talked about it with the Shady tool on Run the Sims. I certainly understand how that concept works, but it also doesn't account the way these pods work. Like you have players that crush in the regular season that would get you up to advancing 100 out of 150. There's nothing to say they can't continue to crush in weeks 15 and 60. Like, yes, you were at risk of them having a down game and wiping out a large swath of your portfolio that relied on them, but it doesn't account for the fact that they also can continue to go off.
Yeah. Yeah. He would need more qualifiers, I think, for this. Like in the 100, you can like you can't possibly get 100 without having proper diversity or something. Like it would just it's not mathematically possible or something like that. Where it probably is. It probably is possible to be pretty diverse and still get 100 through. You gotta get lucky, but
well, and don't you think? I think a big thing about it would also be the cost on where you're divided. If you have 100% of an 18th round pick,
right,
versus a first round pick, so like let's take the example of the year Puka and Kyron both were 17th, 18th round picks, and they smashed for the Rams. If you had 100% exposure to them, you would have advanced a shit ton of teams, and you still would have been able to survive a dud week from either of them in the playoffs because the cost was so minimal. So like having 100% exposure to round 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, or whatever the thought experiment is, that's far more of a risk than someone who nailed heavy late exposures and got all the cheap league winners.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I kind of joke retweeted you and saying, you've heard of zero RB. How about zero lineups? Just get none through, right? Like you could, because if you take it to the extreme here, you'd rather have 100 lineups than 2 lineups, right? 1 lineup.
Yes.
For sure, right? 0, definitely. 1, yeah. 2, yeah. Like what point do you go, doesn't matter. It's not much lower than 25 where you're going like, no, just give me the 100.
Right.
Like even with perfect diversity, in amongst those 10 lineups or something.
And the other thing too that is tough to account for in this dynamic is pod luck, right? Like the pod luck and who you're in, like you could just land in a really soft pod. And if you told me like, oh, I'm going to give you 25 extra lineups, even if they're kind of concentrate on the same cohort, I'm like, let me clackety clack in some of these really weak pods and sneak a couple extra through where I don't have to be perfect to get through because everything is firing on all cylinders. I'm just going to get a little lucky in a soft pod.
That's a good point. Yeah, you got more bullets in the pods that you cannot control the randomness of at all and how they play and stuff.
I think the engagement bait part of this is I think we could probably ratchet this number down and find like more of like an equilibrium, right? Of like what is the tipping point of like a hyper diversified, but like 100 is like I will trade any of my portfolio. Like if Gritty gets 100 teams to week 16, I will trade my entire portfolio for those 100 teams. Like I'm just doing that, Can
you see if he's qualified for the Twitter content thing? You get paid. If you could see that, then I'll tell you. But because like even the guy you said he might be subtweeting had like what 63 lineups?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so like okay, 63 and 25. It's still probably 63, but it's not 100.
Right.
You'd have to say like 150 of the same lineup. And then it's like, yeah, well then, okay. I guess I'd probably rather have something different.
The other thing too that people are often talking about with like the leverage angles and like there is certainly an element of wanting to sneak a bad team into the Best Ball Mania playoffs because it's going to have a lot of unique pieces and ownership naturally condenses around the players who perform well at each juncture of the tournament, weeks 1 through 14, 15, 16, etc. You still have 18 players on your roster, even with 4 chalk pieces. It's similar to like a DFS lineup, right? Like you can eat some chalk and just pull some unique differentiation levers at a few spots and still have a really unique team, even if a 30-year lineup is represented by a good chunk of the field. And I feel like that thing happens here. Like, yeah, when the year Barkley goes off, you're going to have a ton of teams with Barkley, but you're also going to have a random tight end that no one else has, a random wide receiver. Like there's still uniqueness even within a chalky team that makes it to week 16 or whatever.
Yeah. This feels, it kind of reminds me of like 2002 poker discourse, like 2+2, where guys are kind of just making up stuff, like, no, this is wrong because of some, narrative. It's like, you could kind of test a lot of this stuff these days, like how many, what if we had a very similar lineups compared to this many not similar lineups? You're not gonna get the exact number, but we could get pretty close. Like it would be like, I'm sure Dan could come up with efficiency numbers for all the players. And then you would need some sort of portfolio number too. My guess though is like just like being like fully charitable is he's probably more right than wrong, honestly. It's like, I don't know, I was looking at those numbers you were showing, like 76% like drafted. That's probably too high unless it's like a player you're talking about like in the 18th round or something like that, where like almost doesn't even matter that much. Doesn't matter a ton. It's probably more right to be diverse. And then therefore you're not gonna get 100 through because you just can't, because you're forcing yourself to be different, which means you're gonna have more misses.
The other element about this too, and I think it has to be part of like the EV equation, is last year there were no regular season prizes. And so like talking about your advance rate and stuff like that in a contest where all of the money is paid out in the playoffs is pretty, dumb. But this year we do have regular season prizes. So there is like equity in having, and again, like I'm kind of just playing devil's advocate. I'm as like week 17 pilled as they come. I'm a diversification. I just talked about, I was trying to play optimal 150 sets in the VR. So like, I generally side on that side of it, but I do think like, the element of how hard it is to get teams through to the finals, and that there's this chicken or the egg situation where if you do get a large chunk of teams to like week 16, even like, you've done some things right. Like you've hit on players that have performed really well. I just have a hard time saying that is a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's got to be some more qualifiers. Like your lineups can only be like one player different or something. And then it's like, okay, well now we can have a conversation. Mr. My Beast of Burden here says Liam has a philosophy of uniqueness. I remember him tweeting not that long ago that uniqueness wasn't overrated back in the Dalton Kincaid days. I'm pretty sure I remember him tweeting like he had a ton of Buffalo.
He has a philosophy of uniqueness until it applies to the Buffalo Bills, in which case he goes Dolph fanatic on it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then when Buffalo goes off and he gets lucky, having that taking a stance on a guy like that is real smart. Like when it works out in your way. Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, he might have changed his philosophy. I mean, we've been on team uniqueness for forever too. So
well, and here's another like element of the conversation. And I do like, I there's lots of good comments going on, and there's lots of funny replies and stuff on Twitter. I do think it's like kind of fun to engage with this, like in some good faith, and not just like on its surface, but. Like another example of why this hypothetical is tricky is take the eliminator contest, which is like a week 1 is all that matters format. And the teams that have really, or the users who have really good advance rates in that format are extremely running back heavy because it's easier to project volume at the running back position early. It's easier to raise your floor early in the season by loading up on running backs. And the teams that are succeeding over there do that well. You could have a similar thing right now in Best Ball Mania where you are way over leveraged on running backs and have insane advance rates, but your team is probably not built with enough firepower to actually compete in the pod dynamics of week 15 through 17. So that would be a different type of heavy concentration on a cohort of players, where I do think it's possible that your cohorts or your heavy stands are on players that lend itself to the BBM format. Maybe a late rookie that breaks out, the league winning quarterback. I don't know, right now, like who exactly that fits that bill, but I think it's possible to be heavy on the type of players that succeed in the Best Ball Mania format, but people are having a hard time untangling what just a good advance rate squad looks like versus what heavy exposures in a smart way could look like.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. You can't say much more than he needs more qualifiers. He needs to play more of what he's getting at, unless, of course, he just wants some clicks and attention, and then more power to him. He did it. It worked.
It did. It did. He got everybody riled up. It's always funny when the best.
What's the funniest replies? I'm interested.
Oh man, it's
probably
good to see a lot of people. I mean, there was I mean, our guy Shit My Money was having some fun with it. Let me see where he was here. Yeah, here he is. Game show host. Behind door number 1 is more money. Behind door number 2 is less money. Which do you choose? Best Ball Bros, give me door number 2, Bob. Be sure to catch me on YouTube at 10 a.m. for my thesis on why less money is actually more money. I hope I don't draft too many good best ball teams. Wouldn't want to lower my chances of making the finals. Yeah, I think it's the most Liam thing ever, where it's like the most extreme version of like an interesting conversation to have, but then you just ruin any chance of a productive conversation by going so hyperbolic.
What would you, okay, let's make it 150 teams. They're all identical. You'd rather have the 25, right? Of diverse teams. Yeah.
Unless I hit the nuts on those teams, Brian.
It's pretty flat payout too. I mean, it's not, compared to poker, but it is compared to DFS, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like first is what, 2 million?
Yes. Yeah. So you're saying, 25 versus like 2, and I have both of those sets in week 16. And
DFS. Yeah. Like you put the 2 the same lineups in, and you get first is 1 million, seconds 50,000. Like that's like kind of a waste of the second lineup. But in best ball, it's not nearly as bad. But what if there's one player different between all 150? Would you take the 25 still?
Yeah, I probably would still take the 2.
Or you could just tell me what would it be? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think once I start to have like 3 to 4 unique players, I probably flip.
And that's like every team, almost, right? Damn close to it. Exactly. Every team, like someone who has a portfolio of 100 lineups or more. So
like anyone who's looked through like BBM pods, even in week 16, like the most players you're going to have duplicated with another roster is like 3 to 4, that's still at the high end generally.
So any reasonable 100 pool of 100 lineups, you're going to want that over the 25, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to say reasonable, like just any pool of 100. Yeah. Of 100 lineups, you're going to want that over 25, probably.
The other part of this conversation that's normally come up, that it's like, at least you can say this, right? Like with this conversation, you can say how you draft, you can control the diversity of your exposures. What you can't control is once the contest locks, which players end up being high owned in the playoffs and which ones don't, right? And so that's the thing people always talk about, like, oh, you want to get these low owned guys in the playoffs. And it's like, yeah, but there's no way to actually control for that.
That's fair. But I mean, it's still little, and not telling the full story, because if a player is taken 100% of the time, he is more likely to be in the playoffs, just to do the fact of law of averages. So it's true. Like he might be in lineups due to like how his season played out, like very infrequently in the finals, even though he was taken 100% of the time. But players who are drafted more frequently are more likely to be in the finals. But I mean, I see what you're saying. Like it is entirely possible that, I don't know, Christian McCaffrey or somebody who got hurt last year was drafted 100% of the time, but was probably not in a lot of finals teams because he was out for so long.
Yeah. And I think the thing where I do swing back, and I think I even talked about this with you on maybe it was one of the final shows we did before the season started, and we were drafting, and like this whole idea of portfolio in best ball is kind of silly, because I do really feel like you're drafting teams, not exposures. And when I see exposures like over 50%, what I say is no matter how much I like a player, there are going to be drafts where they don't make sense for that team, or someone else reaches for them and I don't get them, or, the positions, I got value at another position, so I had to scoop that ADP voller. You know what I mean? Like there's so many spots, even the players I love, I'm not getting to, that you really have to, I think, be sacrificing building good teams to get exposures on players over 50%, unless they're like a 17th or 18th round dart.
Yes. That's a very funny observation of all this, is you have to like purposely
You got to be going
really work hard to have the exact similar teams to even pull something like this off, where your teams would be so similar that you would be thinking, man, I would rather only have 25 right now than this 100 in here. You would have to, I don't even know if you could do it. I'm not even sure you could do it. You'd be getting sniped on shitty picks just because you need to see your goal is to have the most identical 150 set of lineups you can enter into BBM.
Yeah. And as Grant says, the whole caveat to Liam's tweet should be under the assumption that his 100 to 150 advanced guy is drafting all of the similar players. And I think in his mind, whoever he's subtweeting, whether it's Gritty or the guy, whatever, Vito, I can't remember his name, who advanced a shit ton of teams last year. It's under the assumption that they were drafting, bad players or players that didn't lend themselves to winning BBM. I think there is a world where a really good drafter who understands BBM, who nails some heavy concentration to late sleepers, is advancing 100 teams. Like, I don't think that is an insane thing that could happen. I feel like that could happen within our lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. I mean, it's keep going back to this. It's like there's a point to be made here for sure. This doesn't really get at I think the point he's trying to make, and he might be doing that on purpose so he gets a lot of engagement. So
I mean, he's the king. He's the king of engagement. I'm just begging you, Liam, either pay you have premium, like you're able to fit. Like Liam has premium. When you go to make a tweet, like you can fit all of these into one post. Why are you breaking up your post mid-sentence, Liam? Mid-sentence. What are we doing here?
That way they click the second one to finish the end of the sentence.
Oh my God. There's like a cliffhanger, but then there's like, it would be like the equivalent of a cliffhanger, but they cut off the last line mid-sentence. You don't even hear the end of the sentence to get to the cliffhanger.
Well, but think of all the level of engagement that TV show would get, Pete, with a cliffhanger that ended mid-sentence.
Everyone's calling their cable company. They're like,
what happened? What happened?
Creative decision by the director.
Yeah. He is getting a lot of attention. I'll give him that. He's definitely gotten way more followers on YouTube and Twitter than he had a year and a half ago.
Yeah. It's the thing too, where it's like some people are saying Liam might be right. A lot of this, someone was making a similar point. Wakey DFS to me. Yes, I would have hated to have 100 plus Puka Nacua teams drafted in round 18, which again gets back to my price on the stands is a huge component of it. Yeah. But he got everybody going.
Right. Yeah. I wonder how much of it matters in week 18 at all. Anyways, or wait, what's the last week?
Week 17. You know what happens in week 18, Brian?
Right, cash games.
That's right.
What if the NFL Network asks you to do content on week 18, Pete? What are you gonna do?
You know what? I have a feeling YouTube isn't calling for shit posting cash game Pete.
I know they're gonna ask you to do like real fantasy content.
Oh, and you're saying that I would just have to stay true to the bit.
You're gonna have to be cash game Pete live on YouTube, NFL Thursday or Sunday. Anyways, week 17, once you're there in week 17, does it matter that you have 75 Puka Nacuas in your 100 lineups?
No, and that's kind of what Nerdy's saying here too. To really answer this, you want to compute the efficient ownership of, say, certain 4-player combos, assuming this is what's represented across your 100 out of 150. Just because a ton of them made it to the final doesn't make it wrong at draft time, per se. I still just think it's hard to think of real life draft situations where constantly landing on that same 4-player combo actually was good.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen that often. And there's also the reverse case, isn't there, Pete? Where let's say you're trying to be unique and diverse, and you make 10 teams to the playoffs, and it just so happens the 4-man combos in those 10 are all the same. That's possible. Even though you only had 10 combos in your 150 of these 4 guys.
Yeah.
just so happened those were the guys who did good. Like, you can't really necessarily control that either. I mean, you're gonna have less. You're gonna have less opportunities because you're supposedly getting more diverse. I don't know, the screenshots I see too of people are pretty diverse these days. A lot of like 25% highest owned guys.
Oh, like for sure. I mean, we can look at.
So like, who is he even talking to besides this hit him with gritty guy?
There's this other guy. There's this crew of people who my highest 18.7%.
Check his.
Who, Liam?
Yeah.
It's gonna.
What if he's like 80%? Just
there you go. Look at the top three. Look at the Dolphin.
Gabe, Cook, Coleman. Oh my god, what a fucking poser.
I'm telling you, it's heavy. You want to be diversified unless it's the goddamn Buffalo Bills. In which case, rip it in.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. He's still higher than you, even with the homer stuff with Loveland. Loveland's higher than any guy you got. That was a good pick, by the way, as a Bears fan. Thanks,
dude. When Ben Johnson, him and Sean Payton just sitting around figuring out how to not play the rookies that they drafted.
They had last week, so they had Loveland. And then their 2 second rounders and third were all didn't dress.
Yeah. What like that game this week having the highest total, where like I get it. You know, those defenses are bad, like pretty competent offenses. But I look at Dallas and Chicago, and I'm like, they are just begging to let down America in that 4 p.m. window with just an absolute stinker of a game.
Oh my God. Let me think about how this from Chicago's luck, how it'll play out. But obviously this is hindsight. But when you see JJ's fourth quarter against the Bears, now in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, the Lions are going to drop a 50 bomb on. They're going to drop a 50 spot. Like if this piece of garbage is scoring 21 in the fourth or whatever. So what would typically happen here with the Bears? No, this might be where you get a ray of sunshine to keep the Bears fans still, the homers, to still have some optimism for the rest of the year.
Just a little hope.
This will extend the hope. This is an extend the hope week. Now that I'm thinking about it. So Caleb's good for 3 and rushes one in or something. Or he gets hurt and Tyson Bagent comes in and drops.
We have to meet our quota for a Tyson Bagent.
There needs to be some backup controversy in Chicago for sure. That's required. That's like construction.
So this is the chat reminded me this other guy that's notorious, and he had the best advance rate last year. He has 129 Tua teams.
Yeah, that's stupid.
You think this is Dolphin Addicts burner? 129 Tua.
Yeah, I'm telling this multimillionaire he's stupid by just ripping the Dolphins year after year, week after week, and printing money. Why can't the Bears be good? And then maybe I'll fucking luck box them a milli.
Yeah, so this guy's advancing 43 of 150.
What was Tua? He was pretty late this year, right?
He was cheap. He was like pick 150 or something.
150, whatever. It's still bad, but I don't know. Josh Palmer is probably same, right? Like,
but this actually like more proves what I was talking about with like different types of concentration. So there is like a theme to who he's heavy on here, and a lot of them are like the cheaper fast start running backs who actually face a ton of late season risk of losing the job. Tyrone Tracy, it's already happening with Cam Scatterbo. DeAndre Swift, who looks like he constantly leaves the door open for someone else to take the job. Chuba Hubbard, who was like one of the more dead zoney running backs this year. So like these are the type of players where I see that concentration. It's like, it makes sense why you get off to a faster start, but there's a lot of late season portfolio risk to this kind of drafting. This
looks like he used an auto drafter to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? It looks like
no, these guys are the I know ball of I know ballers, brother.
Oh, no, I know. I'm not saying, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying it looks, not what it is. It looks like to me, it's just like he ranks DeAndre Swift higher than someone else, he turns the auto drafter on and goes and watches TV.
No, the only auto drafter here is up in the Wizard's brain, brother.
I don't mean to insult the FFB Wizard, but
please don't. Please don't.
Not liking the uniqueness here, pal. DeAndre Swift too. That one just did. That one did it to me after this Bears start. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but and the problem is Roshan Johnson and Manange or whatever, however you pronounce his name, the guy from Rutgers or whatever.
Yeah,
don't look too special themselves.
No. Yeah, that was one of those situations where it's like, I honestly barely, normally if there's an ambiguous backfield, like I want to draft some piece of it. Like, hey, it breaks whatever way. Like the Bears, I was underweight on all of those guys. I don't know if I like any of them, which generally I don't think is the smartest way to play it, but.
No, that was, it turns out you were right. That was, I mean, there's like what, 5-10% chance they just pick someone up off the waiver wire in week 6 or 7. And then everyone gets like 7 carries or 5 carries or something. It's entirely possible.
5.3 Swift, 2.7.
What's that? His advance rate right now?
No, this is my ownership. Yeah, so I was 5% Swift, 6% Roshan. And
no, that's not that low.
It's underweight, 2.7.
Yeah, it's well underweight, right? Well, yeah. For Swift, not for Johnson, probably.
I will say though, like I do think ultimately though, and I've talked about this before in like different aspects of like the way best ball and tying up your money for so long. And there's like a separation between like the process and the results in a way that like allows people to shrug off a bad slate. It was just one slate. Like I move on, like you almost like memory wipe everything from a process standpoint. It's like, oh, it was pod luck or whatever. Like, the way best ball and specifically best ball mania with the pod structures and all of this stuff, it is so fruitful for conversation because there are so many variables. There are so many moving pieces. It's a relatively small sample size of data that we have across 5 or 6 tournaments. It does just lead to all kinds of fun or dumb, depending on how you want to categorize it, conversations. But you cannot deny that it provides a water cooler for nonstop debates about this stuff.
Oh yeah. Best ball is way better for content than DFS. It's just so much better. I wonder if it would have went the other way. If DraftKings would have started as a best ball company back in the day, or what was Taylor's company? Draft Day.
Runners?
Draft Day. He started. He started a DFS company back in the day. You know, back in those days, if they did the best ball, and then you just hammered the content like you guys do now.
Yeah,
it might be completely flipped. It's just so much more entertaining and it's so much you could talk about. That's interesting. That's like less solvable, kind of. I mean, it's all solvable to some extent, but.
And again, like the hope cycle, I mean, Don puts it in the more, dark way. It sounds like a way to keep the rake players to keep
BR though is probably the biggest edge in best ball. Is that right? Do you think that's right?
Sorry, what do you mean by BR?
Battle Royales.
Oh, yeah, but I consider that DFS. I don't consider that season-long best ball.
Well, it's best ball.
No. Isn't it? Best ball is the computer setting your lineup with a big roster of players and setting the best possible lineup. Whereas with this, you're picking the 6 players that are in the lineup no matter what.
Well, it's that I don't think it's. I guess it's daily sports, so yeah, I guess it is DFS by definition. But salary cap versus snake draft. Then how about that?
Yeah, but I just mean the element of like the feedback loops with DFS, whether salary cap or snake draft, is like immediate. Like you constantly see like this is where I was making mistakes. Like. If you aren't returning any money or whatever, like over a 5, 6, 7, 8 week sample size, like you're probably doing something wrong. And that feedback loop can be demoralizing, both for a literal bankroll and just the psychology of a player. Whereas best ball, there's this element of it being stretched out. You have all this optimism, and then it's so distant from you by the time you lose that you're just like, we're on to the next thing. Like it's the perfect thing for players who are bad to feel like they can jump back in again.
Comparing it just to itself, like the same products on Underdog, so Eliminator, season long, the playoffs, etc. The playoffs and and BRs, I think, are the two highest you can have an expectation to make money on. Do you feel the same? Because you would think, because in DFS world, the BBM would be your highest return because it'd just be so big. It'd have the worst players because there's so many people. You would expect to make the most over time in something like that. But I don't think so. I think in BRs, there's way more mistakes happening, and in playoffs as well. Although playoffs is getting much better than it was 2 years ago. So it might be BRs, period.
I think I agree. I did the show with Blender yesterday, and I was like saying, the reason it's awesome is because the barrier of entry keeps out the like gigabrain players in the time that it would take to draft. So you keep those guys out. Yep. They can't scale their processes in a way that makes sense for them, opportunity cost, time wise.
Yep.
And then on top of it, you have what you still have in the DraftKings, Millie, which is a lot of phone shitter bros, people tossing in bad lineups, doing suboptimal things. So you get the best of both worlds, a lot of bad players who aren't taking it seriously, and then not having the top 0.01% of players who are vacuuming up a ton of the EV in the contest.
Yes, for sure. What Dan said here is second to last comment. It's hard to tell if you're good at DFS. It's even harder for best ball. But yeah, sure, that's totally true. But I'm just thinking, Dan, about it's just so clear. It seems like in BRs that they're making mistakes. That doesn't mean you can take advantage of them. That's I agree with that. In order to prove that you're taking advantage of them. But what were just two of them we said earlier? The 100% QBs getting drafted. That's almost certainly a mistake. And I can't remember a couple of the other ones we mentioned earlier. It's just happening week in, week out. Anchoring is so strong.
Yep.
That at least they're making mistakes that you could take advantage of each week. And you get each week too, Pete, which is not as good as DFS because you can get it's probably identical DFS, right? Because I'm assuming they have showdowns too on Underdog. Although they're probably so small, it might not be worth it.
And it's such a different game format too. The strategies for the primetime Paloozas, which are the 2-game or 3-game slates, they're just a completely different animal because there are 3-person drafts and there's Nerdy, you guys were running some of the sims on those last year too. And some of the exploits there are really different than
a tool is really useful. The smaller the field, the smaller amount of picks you can get for sure. At least that's what we found. And he makes another good point here. You can light money on fire so much faster in DFS. Amen. Anyone who's played DFS, seriously, it is for poker players, PLO on steroids times 100.
Well,
you can burn through so much money.
It's when we talk about the casino stuff, right? You can walk in and put on a single spin of the roulette wheel or one single pull of the slot machine. Whereas you can go sit down for the same $100 and sit at a poker table for 5 hours, 6 hours,
or bet on a football game and you watch 3.5 hours.
Exactly. Whereas the DFS, that's the best ball equivalent is the, getting to hanging out in the casino for 8 hours, the good bang for your buck. All right, Brian, I had the idea what I'm going to title this episode while we're recording it. If I had 150 lineups, I'd lose too. There's the title.
I said this over the years, Pete, on this show. Them limiting a lot of people who are new don't know this. You used to be able to max enter as many lineups as you wanted in these DFS contests. It was until the Ethan Gate controversy that they minimized it. I think they might have lowered it to 300 and then eventually now to the 150 now. That saved more people money than it cost money because they would just burn even more, some of these guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate everyone hanging out. I'm going to do the Battle Royale bash here at 3 p.m. Eastern, so in a little less than 30 minutes. If you guys are YouTube members, join in the chat. I'll spin the wheel and you guys can hop on and draft some Battle Royale teams with me. I'll be back tomorrow for the DFS show, Block Party, and Yuta will be joining there for the week 3 breakdown. Brian, anything else people should know about Run the Sims this week?
Showdown tonight. Neil and Adam are doing shows. I'm assuming Neil uses the tool on his show tonight, so you can check that out. And we'll be having an update very soon for the tool as well.
Perfect. Sounds good. I'll see you guys all shortly. For the audio listeners, we'll get this up on the Lulz podcast feed. Thank you for all of the lively conversation in the chat. Appreciate all of you guys. We are here every week, Thursdays, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, for Brick, I'm Pete. This is Lowell.